I guess my faith is, I mean, I trust God. I know that where I'm at is, I know if I work as hard as I possibly can, then God's going to do the rest, and I have
Mm.
faith there. You know, I pray. I have a great relationship with God. I mean, I went through a time uh, I hate, in a way, I hate to admit it because it's embarrassing, but in October, I checked myself into recovery. I
Mm.
developed a much worse drinking problem when COVID happened, and I was trying to numb myself to everything.
Mm.
And going through that really brought me a lot closer to God because I realized quitting drinking wasn't something I could do on my own,
Mm.
but it was something that God could take away from me, and that strengthened my faith.
Yeah.
And so just seeing that God could do that, something that I was helpless against, and the same type of thing when I started Good Neighbors, it took a lot of faith to be able to not be addicted to, being financially secure. Um, so God's always there. I'm just going to be me. He created me to work my butt off and try it on my own, but I know that he's there,
Yeah.
and so it's just a big part of my life. God is just ingrained, I guess, in everything that I do. I mean, I pray every day a lot of times without thinking about it. It's like I'm doing everything that I can, just make this come together, and it'll happen.
Mm.
So I think when I really knew God was part of Good Neighbors, it was really interesting. But we have, like what we did on the Wednesday night situation. We had several years that we did it on the mountaintop up by Paintsville Lake. For some reason, it would always rain on Wednesdays, and every group would say, "Oh no, it's gonna rain. No, we shouldn't do that." I'm like, "No, it's not going to," because for some reason God always stopped it from raining like right there.
Yeah.
So it was like the one thing that I could just consistently rely on. I know that God's gonna do that.
Yeah.
So I know that He's real, and then I guess the rest of it's just kind of building faith, because God will do anything if you let Him,
Mm.
and it's hard to let Him.
Yeah. That
Real
is hard to
let
open
Him.
yourself up.
It's hard to let go. It is. It is. It's hard to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Really hard.
Yeah. Everyone wants to be strong by themselves.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And in the devotional on Wednesday, when people were talking, one of the big things I noticed is just people were saying they were asking if they learned how to ask for help, that they couldn't do things on their own. And it's true.
Mm-hmm.
Like in high school, I was very driven, we'll say.
Yeah.
And I tried to do everything by myself. I'm like, I can do it. And I was taking on weight, I was working with the church, with my school, playing sports. I was overworked.
Mm-hmm.
And I eventually reached a breaking point.
Yeah. Yeah. Burnout happens.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah. And everyone saw it. And Mark was the one who actually sat me down and talked with me. He's like, "You're burning the candle at both ends. Like, I'm worried about you." And I was still like, nah. Like, I was still refusing help, even though people around me were willing and ready to help me. And I was still rejecting. And finally, I just broke. And then I started going to therapy, like trying to get this sorted out.
Good for you.
Yeah, but it took a lot of time. I was a senior in high school. Now it's 2 years later. I'm still working on it. Like, it's a lot, but I've tried to open myself a little more, explain to people where I'm at, because I never wanted to be a burden for someone else.
Yeah.
So I don't want to put my because I know everyone's got shit. Like, my thing was like, I didn't want to put myself on someone else's plate, so I would just do it myself. But just being able to be like, I need help. Reaching out your hand, it allows for a connection to be made, and it's the same with God.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. And it's being able to do that, I think, is actually being strong. I mean, I wouldn't have said that a few years ago, but it is. Being able to ask for help, being vulnerable, is really being strong.
Yeah. Mark did, because he does the talks every morning.
Yeah.
That was one of his talks the other day, or 2 days ago. It was, "In my weakness, there is strength."
Mm-hmm.
That's in the Bible somewhere.
Yeah.
But that is so true.
Absolutely.
Because no one's perfect, and you can't be strong everywhere. Like, big people, like strong people, they can't move fast.
Yeah.
Small people, they can move fast, but if they get hit, they're gonna get hit.
Absolutely.
That's what I have been noticing so much. Is just everything's balanced, and that's kind of how the universe is. Everything has its balance, and we'll always find that homeostasis. That what's it called? I don't know. The middle ground.
Yeah.
And it always evens out. No one. So the fact that we try to deny that we're weak in some places is just naive.
Yeah,
it's kind of
really
stupid.
It really is, without a doubt.
Yeah, we really need to open up. So how did you reach out in the pandemic? Because that was a tough time. Like how did you just say I need help?
I was never suicidal, but I didn't want to live anymore.
Yeah.
At all. And I also realized that I couldn't function throughout a day without drinking. So it had gotten to that point. And realizing that I didn't want to be alive anymore was pretty scary.
Yeah.
You know, because then what are you going to do? Are you going to live every day just saying, I mean, in my head, I was thinking, I've done a lot of good throughout my life. God, can you just take me? I mean, Jesus only had to live 33 years.
Yeah.
Why do I have to live? I'm 43. What?
Yeah.
So then I just thought, I don't want to be like this. What am I going to do? And then, of course, I mean, it's never easy to go and do something like that because it's embarrassing to admit that you got a problem, number one. But number two, you never have time to do something like therapy or rehab, right?
Yeah.
You never do. You don't think that you do. I just decided to do it. So I thought, if I want to be dead, I got to do something about it. It's worth it.
Yeah.
So I just decided to check myself in. I called up if I know what my insurance would cover, and I said, I got a problem.
Yeah.
I'm going to figure this out. I researched it a bit and just went and I said, I don't care about anything else. I only care about the fact that I don't want to be controlled by alcohol, and I don't want to feel every day when I wake up like I wish I wasn't awake.
Yeah. That's awesome, though, that you reached out. How are you doing now?
Excellent.
That's great.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, I wake up every day now, and I get out of bed, I'm like, seize the day. It sounds stupid, but I'm just excited to wake up in the morning.
It's true.
It feels good, I'm excited to make breakfast. I'm excited to have my first cup of coffee and just write down what I'm going to do during the day. And the whole process, I mean, it's not just quitting drinking, but you do therapy. I mean, you understand this. Your whole thought process changes. So you get to analyze, okay, this is happening. I'm feeling this way. Why am I feeling that way? And I think it makes you a better person, and it does make you rely on God too. But yeah, it was hard to get there. I fought it for a long time, and I thought I can take care of this myself, and I couldn't.
That's what a lot of people think.
Yeah. And I just thank God I didn't have to hit what some people call a rock bottom. To me, it was because I didn't want to be alive anymore. That sucks. But that was my rock bottom. Other people have gone through worse things. But
it's just that's why I think AA meetings are so important. Like, alcoholism runs in my family too. I get it, and it's a hard thing, and you need support.
Yeah.
You can't do it by yourself.
Absolutely.
My dad has a really cool rock, and it just says "turn it over," and it just turns it over anytime he has a worry or stress.
Yeah.
It's turn it over to God.
That's awesome. I love it.
But it's really important to open up, because I think it's stronger to go ask for help. Like, that's what I've been learning. Like, you're not weak when you ask for help.
Right.
You know your limits.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's for sure.
And drugs and alcohol, it's to escape reality, and it's a trap.
It is
that a lot of people fall down, and it's terrible, because especially it's everywhere. It really is. But yeah, just the fact, because what's it called? Our lives, I think it's so amazing. I think about it all the time. It's like the fact that we're conscious, like beings, that we're experiencing things that we could touch, taste. And I'm not like this all the time, but sometimes when I think back, I'm like, James, come on, think. Like, the fact I'm here right now is a miracle.
Absolutely, yeah.
That I could be nothing, and I would never even know. And I will be nothing soon. And then I'll lose out on all this.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to me. Because sometimes, too, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, there's so much pain and suffering in this world. Like, what is the point? It's like, what am we all going here through?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, it's pretty fun, too. Like, you know,
It is, yeah.
make relationships, love, like it's a great thing. But yeah.
I think one thing about serving too is if you're not having fun and you're just doing it as a sacrifice, you're not doing it right. You're supposed to have fun. God wants us to be happy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we're supposed to enjoy life. We're not supposed to sit there and you know, be. I don't know. I don't know. Sacrifice isn't always supposed to be painful at all. It's just you serve, but you figure out how you can serve and be happy. I think.
Yeah.
You got to be able to do that. You got to be happy every day.
Yeah. Sometimes that was another problem. I was like, when I when I did some service, I'm like, this feels wrong.
Yeah.
You know, I feel too good for this to be service, you know? Like I'm having a great time.
That's excellent then. Then you know you're doing the right thing. Yeah.
But then I'm like, yeah, because that makes sense now to me. But back then I was just like, I'm doing it wrong. Like I should feel terrible right now. I should be wanting to go to sleep, just dreading this. But
yeah,
like today at the work site, we're having a good time. Like we're having so much fun.
That's awesome.
And oh my gosh, that's why I love it here.
That's how it's supposed to be. Yeah.
We need more of this.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, but it's a problem in Jersey too, but like heroin's a huge problem. And I don't know, because that's a big problem here too, right?
Yeah. I mean, whether it's heroin by opiates or or actual heroin. Yeah.
How do people get into that?
A lot of it is. I mean, we have so many people that are on disability or whatnot. So doctors will just go and prescribe painkillers, and they get hooked.
Yeah.
And so it's so readily available. I think that's one of the ways. And then I guess heroin pills, I think, are expensive. And so heroin, I think, is cheaper, and that's how people get hooked on it. I'm fortunate I never did. I feel really bad. I went through when I went to rehab. I had a couple buddies that had got addicted to painkillers, and then went to heroin. And I mean, it's tough, man. I feel for them.
Yeah,
but that sounds like a horrible, horrible addiction.
It is, and there's not much you could do because it's a disease.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, you hit the point, and then it's really not your fault anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, people may disagree with me, but I will say that all day long, and I will stand by it.
Yeah, I think they're on your side.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's the worst thing. If I was, for the past years, if I was driving over the legal limit, was it my fault legally? Yeah. But was it really? No, I have no control over it. Yeah. I mean, that was just what I did. I didn't even understand that there was anything wrong with it.
Yeah.
So,
it rewires your brain.
It really does. It really does. And you get to a point to where you can't help it.
Yeah, and that's the saddest thing. Because no one looks at cancer and is like, that's that person's fault.
Exactly. Yes. Yes, you're correct. You're correct. So
it's like once it's in you and your brain's wired, you need it. Your body depends on it.
Yeah.
And when you don't, you're miserable. Like,
it's interesting. I actually had with people that went through the rehab with me, we had a recovery weekend retreat, and so they came out and worked on it. I think that was on my when I was 7. It was either 7 months or 8 months sober. And they came out on that weekend, but it was so cool because we're sitting there around the campfire talking, and I remember all of us, we were in rehab. They said, who is somebody that you absolutely can't forgive? Who do you hate? Every one of us that was at that retreat, we all said ourselves. Absolutely hated ourselves. It was so funny because I go, do any of you hate yourselves right now? They're like, no. It was so freeing,
Yeah.
Because it tricks you. Addiction tricks you. You think that you hate yourself. You think there's something wrong with you, and it is a disease. But it's yeah.
So that shift from hating yourself to not, was that just getting off of the substances, or what made that shift to free yourself?
I think it's because I wasn't captive to it anymore. I mean, all of a sudden I had control. Like right now I can choose. I can make the decision not to drink, which I have made every day since October 7th. But it's so cool to be able to choose that. Before I couldn't choose it. I would have to. And so it was, the difference is freedom. When you're not free, when you're a slave to something, it's hard to like yourself.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That makes sense, though.
Yeah.
That's why it bothers, like, another thing that bothers me, because it's so stigmatized.
Yeah.
Like, people think it's just the person's fault. It's like, oh, they're just a mess up. It's like,
right.
You have to open your eyes. If you're in that position, in their circumstances, in that situation, you would do the same thing. And people don't understand that. And we need more sympathy for one another, because
Absolutely.
instead of, like, looking at the homeless person on the street and just walking by, you sit down and ask their story, you know?
Absolutely.
Like, we need this compassion and understanding, because if, like, in that connection with God and love, because when we have that and change maybe get a little different pair of glasses or something.
Absolutely. Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
We could actually make a difference and say, instead, I'll help.
Yeah.
Like, what can I do to help you? You know? And it actually goes even a little thing, it goes such a long way. This is like the theme of the episode.
For sure.
It's just the little things. And it could just change someone's life completely, because then you're your own person again. You have your free will that God gave you, which is fantastic. That's why I hate this system of, like, private prisons, putting people in prisons for, like, drug possessions.
Right.
I'm like, dude, prison's supposed to change people, like, help them.
Exactly. And you're not going to come out. You're not going to come out of prison recovered from that just because you didn't use it for a while, right?
You just got to time out.
I mean, I quit drinking on my own for about 6 months before, but I didn't learn all the skills that I did in recovery. You know, it was a big difference.
Yeah, you need the tools.
You do. And I think if that was offered to more people, some people are going to say, hey, I don't care. You know, I'm just going to go and use again. Yeah, I'll go through this and just act like I care. But a lot of people want to be free from it. They really do. And I'm with you on that.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can never make anyone change unless they want to change.
That's for sure.
You know?
That is for sure.
But you got to give them the resources to learn. Because I was so blessed that I was given, like, after my parents got divorced and stuff, they sent me to all this, like, group. I was going to, like, adult seminars on bettering yourself. I was surrounded by, like, 60 and 70-year-old people.
That's awesome.
As, like, a 17-year-old. And I'm, like, hearing these stories and how people are so dragged down.
Yeah.
But I was given the tools to be able to deal with what I was going through.
That's awesome.
By listening to others and hearing their stories.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't have these tools to be able to cope. It's like, this is what's going on.
Yeah.
This is where I can go down a bad path, and this is what I could do to help. Instead of stuffing it down, maybe I'll go talk to someone or go work out or do something else.
Yeah.
The tools we need. And if we can give those to people instead of just shoving them back down, we might make a difference. It's
I
like
agree. Yeah.
Take a father out of their home or a mother out of their home. Well, what do you think's going to happen to the kid?
Right.
Like, it's an endless cycle.
Absolutely it is.
And